Hello everybody, welcome to this new Cornerstone video. I'm so happy and I'm honored to be here with Noy here and Davide Pannozzo, two great player, sacred holy monsters of guitar, blues guitar, to talk about pedals, especially to talk about the pedal that we have just released, the new Antique. So the first question probably for you is, when do you guys starting using a screamer?
I started pretty early. I pretty much as soon as I found out about Stevie Ray Vaughan, the first thing I did was to get an
Antique
Started with that, right?
Unfortunately, at the time there was only TS9s where I was. I was in Israel, and the TS1 does not sound like Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Exactly.
Whatever you do with it, it does not. So I was trying really hard, but it's like, it's kind of interesting how it evolved, from I don't know the real history of but 808 and then TS9 and TS10, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
Just down, right.
But yeah, it's pretty early on. I think in probably late 80s I started to use
Okay.
one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You too, Davide?
Yeah, I started around maybe in 2000 and something, because I got a couple of those, the TS10 and the TS9. I tried to match it together, but that didn't work well. But I used to play with Marshall JCM 2000, so overdriven amp, and I used to play with the TS9 to just push it a little bit. And that was my favorite kind of use of the pedal. And yeah.
That works good because it's mid-range.
Exactly.
So it would really work good as a booster, not as its own thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is exactly one of the very important questions that I would like to ask you is, what is for you the best interaction between a screamer and an amp?
I use a screamer as I don't use it to boost a gain. I use it as the sound of the pedal. So it sounds good pretty much on anything, whether you plug it into a Marshall or a Fender. But the amp needs to be loud, but clean or clean-ish, like compressed. And then once you push that in with a tube screamer, then you get that kind of sound that I like. I think that's what Stevie Ray Vaughan did.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it's all a matter of how much gain you use on the pedal, and that's changed over the years for me. And I think a lot of people use it in different ways, and it's kind of interesting. But I use the pedal as the sound of the pedal. I don't use it as to boost a gain amp or anything like that.
So you don't necessarily have a amp on the edge of breakup and then you use the screamer to push it.
I do, but my edge of breakup is still clean. It's not.
Right.
It's not like it's already distorting or breaking up. So I used to use it with a gain in the middle, at like 12, and I liked it. It was kind of more pure in a way. But if you don't play really loud, it's a problem.
Exactly. That's the
because it
problem,
doesn't
yeah.
really.
Yeah.
So lately, in the last couple of years, I just put the drive at 10.
Yeah.
I think it's great though. If you have a good one, it works great.
More gain is always good.
Yeah, I'm actually not a gain kind of guy. I like the stuff to be a little more pure, but somehow with a tube screamer it works because it doesn't have that much gain anyhow,
And you, Davide?
Yeah, I think the problem with the TS9 is that you have to play it with a loud amplifier, and these days, it's not always possible, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I used to play that, as I said before, with overdriven amplifier, but also sometimes, since it's really mid-rangey kind of thing, so to cut through the mix in the studio or associated with another overdrive. That was my favorite one, but to be honest, I'm not using it at the moment. I prefer different kind of sound, just because of that. I mean, you need to be loud.
Do you guys found any particular difference regarding the different models of screamers, like I don't know, like TS9 or TS808, TS10 in this regard? So putting the gain at 10 of all these three models, for example, and what did you end up with?
I haven't. I used to have a TS10, and I'm really bummed that I sold. And I don't use TS9s anymore. I only use 808s because to me that's the sound. Then they all sound different, obviously. I have an old one, and it's untouchable. Like I tried to get, like a reissue one worked with by Analog Man. He has this brown mode that's really good, and he worked on it and he measured all the parts, everything perfectly, and it's very close, but it doesn't do the same thing. So I don't know what it is. I only mess around with 808s.
Okay.
Because 808s are, even with the old ones, they sound completely different. You can get 3 different ones and they're all gonna sound different. So I don't know what I have, but what I have I like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And you, Davide, what's your favorite one?
Well, yeah, the 808 I think is the best one. I tried a couple of those back in the years, and I think they were something best to me. I own a TS9 from the 90s, something like that, but to me it really didn't work out very well. So I tried to modify it as well to send it to my friend and change the chip or something like that, but it's still...
Yeah, there must be something magical about vintage chip as a builder. It's semiconductor manufacturing changed a lot of during the years. So the manufacturing technologies back in the 80s were definitely different from the technologies that we have now. I wouldn't say necessarily better, but definitely different.
Interesting.
And nowadays, it's not that common to source and supply those kind of chips from their era.
Wow.
Let me ask you another question about pedal. How do you use this screamer? How do you use the screamer? Do you use maybe in conjunction also with other pedals, so boosting it or stacking it with something else?
I always try to keep it by itself because I really like the sound of it by itself. But a lot of times when I play live, a lot of times, when you play with a band, and because it's got a dip in the mid-range, sometimes it doesn't cut through as well, And let's say if you do a record and you want that sound, it's easier to record it and then just play it louder or EQ it a little bit and it will cut out. But live, it gets tricky sometimes. So I try always to use it by itself, but most of the time what happens is I push, I have like this, like a clean boost, like I have the exotic signature that I have. So there's this kind of like clean boost. So I usually kick that into it. And it still sounds good. It still sounds like a tube screamer. I'm not crazy about the sound of it because it gets a little rounder, I would say, and maybe it adds a little more mid-range, but it cuts through better. So when you play live and it's got more of a present or something, But if it was up to me, like if the world would be a perfect place, then I would just use the tube screamer by itself.
By itself, so
that's
easy.
it.
And what about you, Davide? Would you stack it with other things? Have you stuck with other things?
Yeah, I used to play a couple of those stuck together. So yeah, and it was pretty, in the Stevie Ray kind of way of using it. But yeah, I will use it with another overdrive.
Stuck a screamer with a fuzz?
No, never.
Never.
Never done that?
No. I have sometimes, I have accidents when I play live and maybe my tube screamer's on, I push the fuzz in. It's just, to me, it's overwhelming. But I also use my pedals they're not like my tube screamer is on 10, my fuzz is on 10, the gain. So those together is I think if I would have messed around with it with the gain, it'd probably be cool. But I never do.
This is very interesting. Again, your way of using it, putting the gain all the way up, and
It's not always a 10, but it's close to
max.
You know, I got tired because, you know, you play these days. You can't play really loud.
Exactly.
You can't really get to the volume that you need to be to get certain kind of tones. So you have to kind of like adjust to that, and the way to adjust to that is to add gain more from the pedal. You know, you get a different kind of tone, but it's still in the ballpark. Also, another thing is, you know, there's a certain level of volume that I can't take in terms of my hearing, because it's if you play with a drummer and everybody's playing really loud, and whatever room you're playing in, it gets painful after a while, you know?
Yeah.
So you have to kind of, you know, I don't know if the word is painful. It just starts to sound like one big, like, you know?
Right.
So you may get the real tone, but it's like, it starts to sound like a mess. So it's easier to play not as loud and, you know, get the gain from the pedal. That's my experience, but this is just a reality of how things are today, you know what I mean? I don't know if you...
Yeah, I agree with that. I usually use the same kind of technique with every overdrive. Even with the Gladio, I try to turn the gain all the way up, and then I cleaned up with the volume on the guitar. So yeah, I prefer that, just because, as Oz was saying, we cannot play it that loud, you know. So you always have to push a little bit with the pedals.
So from your experience, your perspective, I will ask you, what is a good quality of the screamer, and what is a good issue or defect of the screamer? Like a pros and cons. One pros and one cons.
I think there's always been this complaint about the tube screamer that it doesn't have enough bass.
Right.
But I think that's the part of the sound of it, and I think if your amp and your guitar are tuned the right way, it's okay. But some people complain. I remember there used to be all these mods. I think Keeley and people like that used to do those mods where they added bass to it.
Right.
And in the beginning, when you hit it, you go like, oh wow. But then you start playing, you go like, no, that's not it. You know, so it's this interesting kind of phenomena with this pedal where it's like, it really does miss bass, and if you really like A/B it, but for some reason it interacts in a correct way with the amp. You know what I mean? Again, volume is always the key, and we don't live in the '60s, so it's a little harder to get those kind of tones. But
so a pros is that the lack of bass.
Apparently,
it's the design.
But it's like good and bad. It's like in one way it's bad, and the other way it actually works better. So I don't know what's, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, that's, to me, that's the only thing I ever kind of noticed about it. That was.
And what would you think is not as good? I mean, like a cons, or we could say about the screamer in general.
I think the common mistake that a lot of people make about the tube screamer is they try to add bass. And also the thing with the mid-range. If the mid-range is not in the right place, it doesn't sound correct. And mid-range is a problem, because if you put it too high, then it's buzzy. If you put it too low, it gets, you know, so it's a very fine line. You know, that's my experience, because I've tried a lot of different tube screamer style pedals over the years, and I've done a lot of different mods, you know, and at the end of the day, that's kind of what my experience with it.
And what is pros and cons of a scream for you?
Well, I agree with Oz. I mean, it's a mid-range pedal. It's a cons, but it's nature, so it is what it is, right? So that is something that we should live with that.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't sound great as long as you play alone, but when you start playing with it in a band, it sounds great.
Definitely, but still, you need to be loud to really get that kind of nature. But as a cons, I would say maybe it's creamy, it's a smooth overdrive, it's, you know, it's rounded in some way, it's very dynamic, but yeah, but still, you need to be loud
Yeah.
to make it work.
You know, another note I would say is what happens with old Fender amps is when you play, it's kind of the same thing as what happens how pedals react. If you put, like, if you take for example a deluxe or a super reverb, there's a sweet spot. It could be at 3, it could be at 5.
Right.
Once you go, so the more you open a Fender amp, the more mid-range comes in at some point, and the less, and then you lose a lot of the super highs, you know,
Right.
which is the sound of a Fender amp. It's cool, but so it's a real the dynamic between the pedal and the amp and the volume of the amp makes a big difference, because once you turn a Fender amp really loud, you lose a lot of the sizzly stuff, and you add more. It adds more mid-range. So then, like maybe a tube screamer with a less mid-range, you know what I mean, will work better. So it's a very fine line, you know.
Okay.
I think Stevie Ray Vaughan used to use a TS9 for a minute, and I can kind of understand it if your amps are really scooped, you know what I mean? So it's really the matter, especially Fender amps. It's really a matter of how, again, go back to volume, but how your amp sounds in a certain volume, you know what I mean?
Would you mind give us a little demonstration about the way you use two screamers, so a 10 with guitar and then controlling it with the guitar? Now we have here again the Antique, the new version of the Antique, which has been modified to add a little more. Because I mean, more is better.
More is
better. More is better. It's a boost before and after, and you can actually control the two independently. So actually, we set the gain as you prefer. So at 10, both in the normal channel and in the hot mode.
10 meaning it's all the way up, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Controlling then the sound with the volume of the guitar.
Yeah. Well, this is clean. Again, we're not really loud here, so, you know. But, so now...
So this could be seen as a real situation, a real testing situation for people that cannot turn the amp too loud.
Yeah, like, I can play louder than this.
Me
We don't play soft, neither me or...
Exactly.
Davide, we don't play soft at all, but when I'm talking about loud, I'm talking about really loud.
Really loud?
Yeah. So
Right.
it's not that I don't play soft, but, you know. So, but
Right.
this is kind of, you know, so, okay, so this is so this is beautiful. That's like, enhance the sound. The thing that I like about it is the way when you push the guitar, it's got so many, like this is, I don't push much. That's what you kind of want from
Very
really
dynamic.
yeah. And then you clean it up from the volume all the time. And then the other channel is that's more like gainy. So same thing if I play soft and I clean it up from here. I just love it. It's so dynamic, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I always like to play with dynamics and compression. So
Yeah.
that's also the reason why there is a compression toggle switch on the pedal. Even in the old version, even in the Gladio and in the Gladio double channel, in the Nero there is a compression knob. This is because I like to give more control on the dynamic and compression to enhance this type of playing.
Right.
Davide, would you mind also give us a little bit of
You want me to
illustration?
play mine or yours? Yeah, bring you. You know, also the other thing is pickups make a big difference. It really depends on what's the gain of your pickups.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, that makes a huge difference with a pedal like that. You know,
Yeah,
huge.
I do believe so.
Yeah.
I will use it with a little lighter cane. Oh, this is the game, right?
That is the presence.
Oh, the present. Where's the game?
Down here.
Okay. Yeah, it's quite
Killer.
cool. Yeah,
Very nice.
yeah.
Wow, amazed. I don't play. You guys do that. Okay, so thank you very much again for staying with us so far. Again, I'm amazed and honored to be here with Odds and Davide. If you have any question, just feel free to comment in the comment section below, and you can find all other information on our website, cornerstonemusicgear.com. And again, Odds, Davide, thank you very much
Thank you.
for being here with us, and see you soon in the next video. Ciao.
Ciao, ciao. Nice.
All right.